السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put barakah in this course. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teach us that which will benefit us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in beneficial knowledge, and may He guide us to insight and awareness that we need, so that we could take what we need from this course and apply it into our lives. Ya Rabbil Alameen. So I'm happy to actually go ahead and start our Dhikr class. I know you have been waiting for it for a while, so I appreciate you being patient with me. I'll go ahead and start by sharing the screen here so you could look at the notes. Awesomeness. All right. So the course is about Dhikr, right? It's called Serenity, and it's about how do we establish our Dhikr habits so that we may gain the calm, focus, mindfulness in our lives that we so desperately need. So going back to why am I doing this course, or when a time in my life where I realized this was really important for me. I used to not do my dhikr at all, right? Obviously, like we all start somewhere. So I never used to do it. And then I learned about the value of doing morning and evening adhkar, and then I started doing them. Alhamdulillah, like I started doing them, but I was not very consistent. I wasn't very regular with it. And so at some point, I remember working with a life coach. I hired a life coach to work on some personal goals and what is it that I wanted to like get better at in my life, and like support, right? So I remember talking to my coach and telling her that one thing that I know is that when I do my morning and evening dhikr, I am the best version of myself, right? When I do my morning and evening dhikr, I am the best version of myself. And she asked me, like, what is the obstacle? Why are you not consistent? So back in the day, those were like the flip phone days. And I said to her, as soon as I wake up, I pick up my phone and I start looking at text messages and I respond, and like I start talking and blah, blah, blah. And khalas, time is like, it's time to go and I don't have the time to do them, right? So she said to me, how about we put a rubber band around your phone, and you're not allowed to take the rubber band off of the phone like in the morning until you're completely done with your morning and evening adhkar. And subhanAllah, I listened, I did it, and I was so consistent to the point that my morning and evening adhkar, like I've memorized them, and it was like a very short period of time before I have it completely memorized, and I could just sit there and do them without even having to look at the little book that was guiding me through it. So I remember like that time when you asked me, if you ever ask me, like, Khatoon, what is a time in your life where you felt most calm and focused? Most calm, mindful, and focused, feeling like I was on top of the world. Not that, and subhanAllah, what I go back to is a moment where I was at work, and I worked at a school that was divided into two separate buildings. And at the time, I remember, like, in my personal life, it was a time of confusion. Like, I didn't know my role in that school. I was kind of confused about life, and I was trying to figure out where do I want to go. But something I had was like a whole lot of time, and I used to spend those days specifically that I have in my mind. I remember reading this book, and this book is by Ibn al-Qayyim. It's called Al-Wabil al-Sayyib. It basically means like, the generous rain, showers, generous showers, or min al-kalim al-tayyib, of the good, pleasant words, right? And it's all about the heart, and how like dua and dhikr, specifically dhikr, and how does it impact the life of a Muslim. So I remember I used to read this book, and I used to do a lot of what he recommends, and I would I remember there was a special dua in here that I had in a little yellow post-it note, because it was very long and I wanted to memorize it, and I would just take it and I would put it on everything, like, so I could read it. And like, when I think about that time in my life, it was like, it was serene. It was very, very serene. Not what was happening, but specifically the moments where I used to spend it with this book, and the moments that I used to spend in my dhikr. And alhamdulillah, like I'm grateful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided me to it. Something that I noticed today is the need for people to have time to sit and do meditation and mindfulness. Like all over the world, people are talking about mindfulness and meditation and how people are out of control, especially children. They feel out of control if you don't do this. So schools are implementing practices in mindfulness and meditation, obviously without religion being associated to it, right? And as like, you know, as an adult, as a mother, subhanAllah, I remember the days where I was extremely challenged in my parenting and having to go back to Khaltoon, what helps you feel centered? And it was when I did my morning dhikr, when I took the time to do my adhkar in the morning and establish my morning routine, like where I sit there and I do specific practices, I was a better mother. I was not reactive. I was not emotional. I was not angry. I was kind. I was who I wanted to be in my interactions with my son and in my interactions with in the world, right? And so as a coach, I remember I used to work as an early childhood coach, and I would, I had a mentor who would mentor me as I was coaching the teachers in quality of interactions with teachers. And that was one of the biggest things that we had to coach them on, how to be present, how to be in the moment. And so one of the tools that we used to use was put your stresses or your worries in a container and come back to it later. And I remember thinking like to my mentor, Jonathan, like, I can't even do that. And he asked me this question, like, how are you able to, how do you do it in your life? And I remember thinking so much about what do I do that helps me take care of these emotions, that if I am carrying them here, I'm going to not be able to focus on everything else that I need to focus on, right? And so that was dhikr. That was, you know, like having time to pray and read my Quran in complete peace, right? And so the type of dhikr that where my heart was actually impacted by it. Now, modern day science is teaching us so much about the power of meditation. That is actually already in our Quran and Sunnah. That has already been taught to us by our scholars, by our, like the righteous people of the past. It's all in there. But then I don't know if we have been taught about dhikr in this way of being guided through it. So see, the Prophet ﷺ, he was taught about it with Jibreel. And Jibreel, the Prophet ﷺ, interacted with the Prophet, with the companions, and he taught it to them. But who is teaching it to us? Who is teaching it to us? When dhikr is done properly, it has the power to change your brain. And this is what science is saying right now, right? It has the power to change your brain. And we will see the benefits that are found in the Quran and the Sunnah about the power of dhikr. Right? That's what, inshallah, like the majority of this course will cover bi'idhnillah. So people are paying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to go on meditation retreats, to find a teacher, somebody to teach them how to meditate. They're going abroad. They're leaving the country just to learn this art. What are you and I going to do to learn it? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not make something where our complete wellness is in. He did not make it so difficult that we have to put so much, like go out of our way and travel out of the country to do it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's in our, like, basically what I'm trying to say is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this practice and he made it accessible. How can I reach into it? What can I do to tap into that? And that's inshallah what I'm going to be focusing on in this course. Now, a time for me that I realized the power of dhikr was when I went on a tazkiyah retreat. It was a week-long tazkiyah retreat with Dr. Haifa Yunus. And she would have us every single day. We would pray Fajr for a whole half an hour of standing. And then from, like, I remember it was 6:30 until 7 20, we would have to sit there and do our dhikr and not get up until the sun rose. And once the sun rose, we could get up, pray our 2 rak'ahs, and then everybody would go and go do your business, come back for class time, right? And so it was really hard for me and for everybody in the class. It was very difficult for us to do this because we didn't have the habit and the discipline of just sitting there and controlling your body, controlling your thoughts, and just getting into your dhikr. And we kept on doing this, and obviously we worked up until on the last day, I remember we did an hour and a half of dhikr, of just simply sitting there and doing our dhikr, right? And it was salawat upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. I think it was subhanallah wa bihamdih. There were specific practices that she would take us, and it's all in the Quran and the Sunnah. Like, this is not some what do you call, things that you cannot find in the Quran and the Sunnah. Like, it's authentic, and that's really important to me, right? That should be important to all of us, like that we are doing practices that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us about, that we're doing it in a way that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has done, and she did that for us. And wallahi, like, you guys, I don't lie to you, I remember coming back feeling like I was in Jannah. Like, I was in Jannah for weeks after that, where I was just a different person in my attitude, in my emotions, in the way I interacted with my husband and my son. Everything was completely different, right? So one thing I remember, and I laugh about it, when it comes to reading books, especially my school work and just any books really, I am the type of person that takes 3 times the time that it would take the average person. I would read a paragraph, my thoughts would go somewhere else, I come back, I read the same paragraph, and it's that's why it's really hard for me to read books. I listen to books most of the time now. So I remember right before we did that session that day, I was trying to read the first chapter of my reading assignment for school, and I was struggling. I sat there for an hour and I couldn't get things done, And then subhanAllah, when we were done with this session, I could read the whole chapter, and it was I felt like I got up and it was done. It wasn't stressful, So everything that I'm telling you, I've experienced it, and wallahi, that's why I experienced it, not because I perfected it, but because I struggled with it. And because I've seen when I committed to it, how my life changed, how I was able to do a lot more than I could even think was possible for me. Right? So I hope, inshallah, that this is what we can get out of this course, inshallah. Let me see here. So how did I design the course so that we could get the most benefit from it? So it's kind of divided into 3 different sections, right? The first section is, why does dhikr matter? Why is it even important? It's very short. And then the second section is how, to know and understand. To know and understand the benefits, why, how do I actually get benefit from dhikr? What is it? We're actually going to define it first. We're going to talk about the types of dhikr. We're going to talk about how does it impact me in a personal level. And then we're going to speak about the morning and evening adhkar and go into details about their meanings, okay? And their virtues and why are they important. Then the third section is establishing the habit. Now, this is not going to be easy. Anytime we want to establish a habit in our lives, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of discipline. And so I have it organized in such a way where, inshallah, this is the part that is going to benefit you the most, right? We probably all know or have heard of the benefits of dhikr, right? But then the issue, the problem that we have is, how do I become consistent? And so this is what the biggest part of the course is, and this is why I created the WhatsApp group for us, so that we can I have a practice system in my mind that, inshallah, I will be sharing with you as well. So let me see here. So the establishing the habits include setting our intentions, surrendering, making our practice, or having a non-negotiable attitude about dhikr, understanding and eliminating the distractions that we have that stand in the way, and then what are some supporting strategies, and then practice. That's what we're going to be doing together, inshallah. Now, I put this establishing the habit, I kind of mixed it with the benefits. So as we go on, I will stop and we will have a section about that, so that when we do the last part, which is like just that we simply storm through the meaning of the adhkar. So we're going to be mixing them all together, inshallah. Now, why does dhikr matter? What makes dhikr important? Right? And I'm going back and forth with my notes here because I have a whole lot prepared and I wish I had set a timer. I didn't, but khair, inshallah. I'll figure it out. I'll try to stop at a good spot. So why does dhikr matter? Why is dhikr important? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to worship him, and dhikr is literally the way to worship him, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to worship him, and dhikr is the way to worship him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, where is it? Where is the ayah? Subhanallah. The ayah that I'm thinking about is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِي سَيَدْخُلُونَ جَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. That though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, make dua to me, like talk to me, right? Connect with me. And those who are too arrogant to do it, they will go into hellfire forever, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like when we look at the meaning of the word dhikr, it actually encompasses everything. Let's actually go to that slide. Linguistically, it means to remember Allah. It means to not forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means to be completely in obedience to Allah. It means that we recite the Quran. Like the Quran itself is actually called dhikr, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, if you don't know, ask the people of dhikr, the people of, so seeking knowledge and learning about Allah and everything that guides us to Allah, that is also considered dhikr. So everything that I had just said to you right now, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي, establish the salah so that you may remember me, right? So everything in our deen is why is it there? The purpose of it is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And through it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards us, right? So asking ourselves, are we in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And how much are we in need of Allah? Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, I'm going to, he told Adam and Hawa when he sent them out of Jannah and he sent them to the earth, he said, go to the earth, in it you'll be there for, go to the earth. Whenever guidance comes to you from me, whoever follows my guidance, they will have no fear and no worry. And literally that means in dunya you will have no fear, and in dunya you will have no worries. And then when you get to the akhirah, you will have no fear and you will have no worries, okay? And so if people are not connecting to Allah, they are not getting their source of energy and support from Allah, then they are lost. They are in a state of complete loss in dunya and in akhirah, literally, right? And so what does that look like? What does that look like? We're under the influence of shaitan. We don't have the support and the support of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another reason why dhikr matters is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, he talks about people who, when they are in a state of need, they call upon Allah. When Allah fulfills their needs, what do? They turn away as if they never called upon Allah, right? وَإِذَا مَسَّ الْإِنسَانَ ضُرٌّ دَعَانَا, whenever some harm afflicts them, they call us. فَإِذَا كَشَفْنَا عَنْهُ ضُرَّهُ مَرَّ كَأَن لَّمْ يَدْعُنَا إِلَى ضُرٍّ مَسَّهُ. Whenever we have relieved them from that stress, they go as if they had never called us, right? Now imagine if you had a friend or a family member who only came to you when they were in need. When they were not in need, they didn't know you, they didn't remember you, they didn't thank you, they didn't connect with you, nothing, right? What is the status of that person in your life? How important are they to you, right? Now, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلِ الْأَعْلَى, the way we interact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to be even stronger. It needs to be better. So a man came to Abu Darda, who was like a companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was known for his connection with the Quran and wisdom. And this man said to him, "Oh Abu Darda, give me an advice. Tell me something I should hang on to," right? And he said to him, remember Allah at the time of ease, and Allah will remember you at the time of difficulty. How do we then remember Allah? That's dhikr, right? And everything we do to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is considered dhikr. And at the time of ease, if we do it, He will save us at the time of difficulty. Now, now imagine this, right? This is an analogy that I was thinking about the other day. For us, like, you know, attention and like connection or love starts with us giving and receiving the type of attention that we want, right? So as with our children, the first thing that they want from us is attention more than anything else. Like that's why they have, you know, if you don't look and, you know, hug and nurture the emotions of a child and you just continue to feed them, they don't actually thrive. They don't actually thrive. That they need your hugs, your attention, your ability to connect with them, gazing into their eyes. That's what they need when they're first born, right? And when they grow up, same thing. Like whenever you see a child misbehaving, we say they need attention, which is the right, like that's a need. That's a need Allah created in them. And if we give them a healthy level of attention, that's where they get their love and value from their parents, right? Now, similarly, in a marital relationship, if a husband and wife are not spending time together where they're being present with one another, let's say they're not looking at each other, they're not touching one another, they're not sitting down to talk and connect, what happens? They eventually end up having marital crisis, which is legitimate, like it's perfectly understandable. Right? So when you look at, like, you know, how do you fix a relationship? The first thing that any counselor or therapist will tell you is look at the quality of the time and attention that you're giving one another. If it is good, then you step to the next thing, right? So when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's the same thing. When we sit with Him, when we're talking to Him, how present are we, and what kind of an attention do we give Him? How do we create the space to give Him that attention? So that's I think the reason why I'm talking about this is because it's the most crucial part about doing dhikr. You know, if I want, like it says, like if I'm going to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I need to be fully there. I need to be completely present and understand, why am I going to do this, right? My intention is to connect with Him. Am I doing it properly? And then, so the more we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more we try to seek Him and connect with Him. Let me see here. The negative consequences of not making dhikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَمَنْ شَرَحَ اللَّهُ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ فَهُوَ عَلَى نُورٍ مِّن رَبِّهِ. Imagine the one who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has opened their heart and expanded it through the light of Allah. They are upon like light and guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then He says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْقَاسِيَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ مِنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. So woe, like punishment, misery, difficulty for those whose hearts are too hard to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The power of dhikr is that it softens the heart. When the heart is soft, it's aware of Allah. When the heart is soft, it's receptive to the guidance of Allah. But when the heart is hard, nothing is going through, right? And our heart is basically how we go through this dunya, right? It tells us the quality of our hearts, tells us the kind of life we live in this dunya and the kind of life we will live in the akhirah. So taking care of it is the most important thing. And how do you do that? Through the dhikr of Allah. The dhikr of Allah makes it soft, receptive to the guidance, or if you abandon it, it makes it hard and it's far away from the reminders. Now, another two things about dhikr that makes them so important is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. That's my favorite part when the, like usually in Salat al-Jum'ah, in the Khutbah al-Jum'ah, the Imam will recite those verses. And then the last part he will say, وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. And everything, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, of all the worships that you can do, dhikr is the greatest of them. Dhikr, literally remembering Allah with your tongue, is the most important type of your worship. The Prophet ﷺ said to the companions, should I not tell you about the best of your deeds? and the most pure to your Rabb, and the ones that will elevate you the most in your status, and better for you than to spend gold and silver, and it's better for you than you meet with your enemy and you like basically go in a battle, in a jihad, they kill you and you kill them. And then they said, oh my God, Ya Rasulullah, of course, tell us what it is. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, Dhikrullah, to remember Allah, to remember Allah. So this course, inshallah, or the rest of this like course will tell you the benefits of it, how to do it, and all that stuff. Good stuff, inshallah. May Allah put barakah in it for all of us. Now, let's go ahead and establish the first thing that we need to do to establish this habit is to set our intentions. Why are you taking the course? Who do you want to be as a result of when you taking this course? And when you reach that, when you become that person, what would it look like? What will you be able to do? Describe it, right? What is that person able to do? And then make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. And I want you to actually go ahead and please take notes. Please write this. A lot of what I'm going to tell you, you need to write down, because I'm not giving you the details in the slides. I really want you to take a pen and a paper and write it, and get a beautiful journal. Make it your dua and dhikr journal. Okay, and write these things. Whoever takes a path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever takes a path seeking knowledge from Allah, Allah makes it path to Jannah easy for them. And when I think about this, why am I teaching this course? Why like, and if I was learning it, and I did, like, I actually took a lot of my notes also came from a course that I took with Sheikh Walid Basyuni back in 2009, I think, or 2009, about dhikr. He taught it to us in Texas, and it was very long. It was a very long course, right? So I don't know how long this will go, but I'm hoping, inshallah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in it by way of making us the type of people He describes to be the people of dhikr, people who fully trust in Allah, people who have knowledge and wisdom coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They see with clarity, their hearts become pure, they remove their sins, and eventually that leads them to Jannah, right? And that in their dunya, they have no worries, they have no fears, they have, it might exist, but the dhikr of Allah makes them stronger, right? That when I'm interacting with my children, that when I'm interacting with my family, I am the best version of myself, a version of me that is calm, that is centered, that is focused, that is mindful. That when I am doing my work, I can bring the best of my brain to it, right? Because we will talk about how, how I said, subhanAllah, dhikr has the power, and it has the power to heal your mind. It has the power to heal you from everything, right? But there are barriers, right? So hopefully we're going to talk about those, and I hope, inshallah, that I implement it and live it before anybody else, ya Rabbil Alameen. So take a minute, set your intentions, inshallah.